My name is Barbara Kessler, and I'm here with the Attorney General's office out of the Worcester office, and we are here to talk about how to protect yourself about scams and identity theft. This is the Attorney General of Massachusetts. Her name is Andrea Campbell and is the head of our office. And the office is an advocate and a resource for the entire state, no matter where you live, no matter what your status. And the work of the office is involved in protecting consumers, combating fraud and corruption, investigating and prosecuting crime, protecting the environment, workers, and civil rights. So how does the work get done? We have these four major ways that we execute the work of the office. Starts with investigation. Very often an investigation can come about simply by a member of the public bringing a complaint to the office or filing a complaint online. That might be a workplace complaint, a problem with a landlord and tenant, a landlord-tenant dispute, a problem with a purchase, a major purchase like a car or other kinds of things, health insurance, student loans, different kinds of issues that people might deal with, might file a complaint. That might get the attention of an investigator who's in this trying to help them or mediate that complaint for them, might uncover even a further pattern of deceit or corruption and need for further investigation. And then, which would lead to some kind of an enforcement. And in the simplest example, an enforcement might be a fine and getting a worker whose wages have been stolen and who's not been paid according to the law. That might get their money back. It might lead to even more patterns of abuse of the system and perhaps wage theft deeper into the company. Then other cases can start in the non-consumer public-facing divisions of the Attorney General, like false claims. Somebody might get tipped off, a whistleblower from a company or a hospital, that somebody's fraudulently doing different actions with Medicare and things like that. That could start an investigation and an enforcement and perhaps a lawsuit or a fine. So that's the next step of the process. Policy is kind of what can grow out of our work. We, as an attorney, the Attorney General's office does not create policy. That's part of the legislative work. But we do inform that policy decision-making based on what we've uncovered out in the field and doing the work, interacting with the public on the many cases that we look at. And then the final piece of the work is the prevention piece, and that's kind of where I step in. I am a community engagement coordinator, and so I am out there in the community all the time, giving different kinds of presentations, going to events where I bring resources to a table, and we can tell people how to protect themselves. Education is everything. It's very hard to, in the case of scams, everyday scams, it's often very hard to catch a scammer after they've made away with your funds. But we can get there to help prevent that by giving the information that we share. The other part of my job as a community engagement coordinator is to let the office know what people are talking about in their regions of the state. And I am in the Worcester office. The main Attorney General's offices are downtown Boston, but we have a location in Springfield as well as in New Bedford. The Attorney General is very committed to being out there in all of the state and not just Boston-centric, as they like to say. Boots on the ground, a presence in the community, hearing what's going on, and also, again, providing advocacy and resources all throughout the state. One of the big divisions is the Public Protection Bureau, and that's where the Consumer Advocacy Group is under that umbrella of public advocacy. That's where I used to work before I took this role. I used to be involved with helping the consumer specialists who are out there helping consumers resolve complaints, and that's a lot of how people come to the Attorney General's office, is simply with an issue like that. Disclaimer, bunch of words, too much to read, just simply saying that all material is not meant to be legal advice. Again, I'm not an attorney, and this is informational, and we always suggest that if you have a problem that you do get legal counsel. By law, the Attorney General's attorneys cannot even provide individual legal advice. That's not our role. We're prevented from doing that. We can't even recommend a good lawyer down the street who we think might do a good job. That's not our role. We can direct you to how to find a lawyer through referral services. And so the other piece of this is, so the educational piece is for you to learn from, but to know that it's not legal advice. And then there may be some links that we point to in this course of this training that might send you to another website like the FTC, which is federal government. It's not under our purview. So just to point that out. There we go. So the process of scamming. What is it they're doing? They want to get your personal information and or your money, which can both lead to identity theft. Scamming for someone's personal information, it can be sold, it can be used, and can go into further abuse if you end up becoming a victim of identity theft. Rules to know, can't say this often enough, if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it's a scam. We've all heard experiences where people want to act quickly on an opportunity that they hear about, and sometimes we want to act quickly because the pressure's there to act quickly, or it just sounds too good to be, it just sounds really tempting and good. That's where we have to take a beat, slow down, really think it through. You have to read the small print. Always guard your personal information and research well before agreeing to anything. So getting things in writing, if you're dealing with a provider in your home, like a tradesperson who's going to do work on your home, getting everything in writing, making sure that it's all clearly stated, and that they're not trying to evade any of their responsibility in what they're writing. Always guard your personal information. Taking your cards and putting them in a safe place at home. You don't need to carry around your insurance card, for instance. When you go to the provider, you give it to them that first time. They can scan it and put it into their system. You can safeguard that. And then you guard your personal information whenever you're asked to enter. If you are making contact with a company or a provider and you are giving them the information, then you know it's safe. But if somebody's contacted you from the outside, then you guard that personal information. You won't usually get contacted by legitimate businesses unless there's some kind of problem. And as we talk about this, there's ways where if you notice either a call that you don't know or some other kind of incoming communication from a business like a bank or a creditor that you do work with, you can call them back before giving any kind of personal information. Look up their number on your bank statement, on your credit card, in your records online, and to be safe with that. You can also do research by going to government agencies and checking to see if businesses are registered. And you can check the Mass Office of Consumer Affairs for licensing for contractors, and you can even check with your town, like in dealing with contractors and things like that, to really do your research. Yes, home scams, you really have to be careful with those kinds of sometimes very pressured situations where someone is trying to get into your home and do some work. So different types of scams. So we've got phishing, pyramid schemes, lotteries, and internet scams. Has everybody heard that term, phishing? So you're getting some kind of notification either in an email. Usually, they would call it smishing if it was through text, right? So SMS, short message service, it would be called smishing. But basically, they're sending you some kind of communication where they want you to click a link to go to another website where you're going to either enter information or payment information. It's a common technique, and they can be very good at disguising themselves in terms of where it's coming from. So you pretty much want to always verify before clicking anything. Has everybody experienced that?
We get those emails every hour.
Every hour. Some of us get it all the time. Yeah. I use an iPhone, and so I'll get my, text messages on my phone. And, sometimes it'll come in through text, but often it's an email. And it will be, confirm this purchase that you did business with so-and-so through Venmo. Venmo is a payment service that I do happen to use. I got several times over the last few months, complete your purchase here, or you just agreed to this 12-year contract with this business. And sometimes it gives me pause because, wait, did I did I do this? Who's this business again? Because I do order several services this way. But the temptation when you owe something is to just kind of click and just at least verify it by clicking the link. They just want to get you engaged, because once you click in, you could get malware installed onto your computer. You could, again, be taken to a link where you're encouraged to put in your personal information. So really important not to click links in email or on your phones. Scammers can also contact you by telling you that you've won a lottery. That's the little Ferris wheel icon. And the gimmick is that you've won this great thing, but in order to get it, you got to pay us these shipping charges, right? And they can make off with your money that way. And then the pyramid schemes is receiving a chain letter or email, and that you need to send some money to other people and then forward on to solicit to more people. IC3.gov is where you would report the internet scams. And in terms of going to the FTC, go to consumer.ftc.gov. You can find all of the current scams. You know, somebody else said at the presentation last night, which I thought was, you know, kind of interesting. Like, why are they targeting us? This group last night was primarily seniors, and you know, I was like, it's a really good question. Why are they? You know, they're like, we don't have a lot of money. Like, why are they targeting us? And you know, I think. The kind of model is to just keep trying, and you get a little bit here, you get a little bit there, you get a little bit. It's worth it to them to not have a job and to just simply do this. And people who are maybe older and less connected socially, maybe a little bit more isolated, maybe even lonely, might be just interested in picking up the phone, because it could be somebody that's getting back to them, their doctor, or you know, you don't recognize the number, but maybe it is your daughter and she isn't your granddaughter, and maybe, you know, you want to pick up the phone, and so they fall. I think some demographics, some people fall more prey to certain kinds of scams than others, like the phone scams. I think the you know, seniors, elderly are more likely to fall for that. It is a good part of the process to do the reporting piece. If you do make a complaint with the Attorney General, it will get noted, it will get shared, and then we will probably also respond with a letter of the steps of how to report it and how to prevent it by freezing your credit and all of those steps. So jobs, I guess that's the guy at the computer is also meant to represent at home, work from home scams. And a lot of times that is requiring you to spend a little bit of money in advance. Oh, you can work for us. You have to buy this laptop or buy this material. Just we're going to give you some funds to get you set up, work at home, but going to wire us back whatever you don't spend or something like that. And then of course their check is bad. And then once the check goes into the bank, they make those funds available by law. They have to, even if the check isn't cleared. So it doesn't mean that just because the funds are showing up in your bank that they're good. So then you may use those funds as advised and send it somewhere else. Once the check is discovered to be scam, you're responsible for it. You can't get it back from the bank, but you've already given some of it to this other third-party scam. So there's all of these kinds of approaches. Other types of scams that are methods that scammers use is coming to your door, either offer like magazine sales or paving your driveway, doing some other kind of short-term work. Mail solicitation, right? Things that you get in the mail, free trials, free trips. Internet, which could be through social media, through different kinds of classified of things that you might be interested in buying, or again, jobs that you may be looking to get. Telephone, scams, and then credit card skimming. So mail and phone scams, beware of solicitations that pose as the government or the bank. So there's robocalls, right? So that's just somebody sitting in front of a computer, whether they're in a basement with a group of people somewhere. They're basically going through all of the numbers until they find somebody who picks up. I think a lot of companies, maybe even legitimate ones, sometimes just trying to drum up business, will use this method. But it's a good practice once you hear that silence just to hang up the phone in case it is a scammer. One other thing that I've heard that's important to do is to not pick up those calls, because you get sort of identified on a list as being a responsive phone number, which that number can also be. They'll keep calling you, and they can sell that to other scammers, other callers, like, oh, here's a list of live ones. They pick up their phone. So kind of almost better if you don't know the number on your screen to just never pick it up. They may pose as your bank and say that you owe a debt or that an account has been closed and ask you for some information about your account. Never give that out. If you are legitimately concerned and you think that may have been your bank, thank you for notifying me. I'll call you back, and you can inquire on your own with the number again on your statement or on the account, website, and find out that way. And then arrest warrants, so that maybe you have a debt in another state, and there's a warrant out for your arrest, or your license expired, or something happened, and again, they can prey on that fear factor, like something's going to happen because you didn't pay a debt or some other problem. That is a fear tactic, getting you to pay money right away. On the FTC's website, they have some great languaging. A bank or a debt collector or a credit card company is never going to call you, send you a Facebook message, text you to send money, or definitely not to wire money. Only scammers will do that, right? So you always know that if you're going to be getting a legitimate communication, it will come through the mail. If it were in the next case where we've got credit or loan offers or debt consolidation or a debt that you owe, they have to notify you in writing of a debt that is owed. And you have a right to get them to confirm and verify where their address is. So confirm personal information. They may deceptively sign you up for services that you didn't want. So deceptive services where the scammer may ask you to confirm information or answer yes or no to questions, which later locks you into a contract, like Yellow Pages directories, phone carriers, utilities servicing companies like HomeServe. The next slide is talking about spoofing. And that is where the numbers are changed on your caller ID. So it might look like a different number that you recognize, or sometimes they'll use the neighborhood area that you're in, change the first 6 digits or something so it looks like your area code in your neighborhood with the same numbers. And it can occur on any type of phone, a landline, or a cell phone. They are used by scammers to impersonate. Right? They're trying to get you to feel like that you know who they are and feel more comfortable with giving them the information that they're asking and tricking you into a scam. Yeah, a bank may actually call you at some point, right? So again, it's very important to just always check your own bank records, always check your statements and your notifications, and reach out to them if you have any questions about whether they are legitimately trying to reach you. The next one is phishing and smishing. Phishing is a type of online scam that targets consumers by sending them an email that appears to be from a well-known source, an internet provider, a bank, or a mortgage company, or, for example, it asks the consumer to provide personal identifying information. There's ways you can also look at an email and verify whether it looks like a legitimate, well-known business. There can be mistakes in the return email, right? Have you ever done that? Look at the email, it says that it's from Home Depot or something, I won some credit card or something through Home Depot. If you look at if you open the email sender, it's actually not a Home Depot. It's like just a random bunch of numbers. And so you can kind of do a little of investigating of the email itself. You can also look, sometimes they are typos or other grammatical errors. So you can start to notice these trends. And so just by doing that little bit of extra, slowing down before reacting to something. And the same thing with smishing. Cyber criminals are sending you fraudulent emails and texts to trick the recipient into opening a malware-laden attachment or clicking on a malicious link. Smishing simply uses text messages instead of email. So yes, mail and phone scams. Beware of solicitations that give you money. They may give you a fake check, and different scammers use different kind of ways that they can get beyond your radar and get under the radar of the authorities that are investigating. The other thing that it says on the FTC's website, which is really reassuring, is like there's never a reason to pay anybody, have to wire money back if they give you a check. If you're getting offered something, there should never be a reason to, if you're selling something, like say on something that you're selling on a social media site, and somebody offers you more than you're asking, and then you can just send that money to someone else. Like, there's never a reason for somebody to give you more money than the price that you're asking. Asking for your money, like in the grandparent scam, and offering free prizes, like a free trip or a free trial of something. Fake checks and definitions. So fake checks could start with somebody offering to buy something like you advertise, like we were talking about before, on a Facebook Marketplace or other social platform, pay you to do work at home, like we briefly talked about, giving you an advance on a foreign or domestic sweepstakes that you've supposedly won. Somebody giving you a fake check, they claim to be in another country, wiring you money after you've deposited the check. If you're selling something, they say they'll pay you by having you give money to someone in another country. And the fake checks can look very, very real. Again, we have to be super careful about that because you are beholden for it if you put it into your account. You don't have to wait long to use the money, but that doesn't mean the check is good. You are responsible for the checks you deposit. And there it is again. There is no legitimate reason for someone who is giving you money to ask you to wire money back. Overview of the internet scams. We've talked about a little bit the home improvement scams, so people going door to door, which can be a lot of high pressure situation to do some work. We noticed your chimney, we noticed your driveway, some kind of work, and it's really easy to get in somebody's home, do some of the work, take a deposit or take payment and then not come back and do any more of the work. It's very hard. Our office, our consumer advocacy department does see a lot of those kinds of complaints of people getting scammed, and then they can run, they can leave town. It's hard to catch those people too, but we encourage people to report that when that happens, and just be super careful. And then also being careful of charities. Charities can be high pressure too, preying on your emotions in other ways, and they can solicit you by door to door, but also in other ways too. And they can spoof and sound like almost vaguely familiar, like it's a charity that you know or that you've been given to in the past. Housing scams. If you cannot see a place in person before you rent, these tips can help you from being scammed. Online listings are easy to fake, so you want to use an actual real estate agent or a broker or salesperson when you're trying to find a place. And you can verify licenses at the government Secretary of State website. Red flags such as poorly written ads, deals that are too good to be true, and requests for payment using untraceable methods. So paying anything by a wire service is something that they know cannot be traced. So you only want to deal with a legitimate realtor, real estate broker, and regular forms of payment. And don't disclose your Social Security number or your PayPal information to some you've only met online. And if you are the victim of an online apartment listing scam, you can file a complaint at the Internet Crime Complaint Center, the IC3.gov. Unemployment fraud is another type of scam. Somebody is collecting a fraudulent claim on your benefits. And I think that's something that we do see a lot of those kinds of complaints at the office. So you can always report that through the link at the Department of Unemployment Assistance, the DUA. And these are the Federal Trade Commission numbers. Telephone scams go to the Federal Trade Commission, which is that top number that's under here. Mail scams go to the United States Postal Inspector Service, which is on this as well. And then internet scams go through IC3.gov. And so identity theft, yes. So if you do end up getting scammed where they get your personal information, and you have to take steps to make sure that they do not have further damage onto your credit. The metaphor of the identity theft is that scams are like viruses, and then you see symptoms, and then there are consequences, and then there are remedies, and then you have to protect from having it happen again. So so some symptoms that you may notice that your identity has been stolen is that you notice you're no longer receiving your mail, you receive medical bills for services that you never received. IRS informs you that tax return was filed using your personal information. Your credit report has strange entries. You are contacted by debt collectors regarding unfamiliar debts, or you find transactions on your banking or credit card accounts. So in order to really stay on top of your finances, you really should check all of your statements, go through be really close monitoring all of your financials all the time. I know that since I started this job, I check things way more frequently just to make sure that nothing is, nothing's happened with my credit. And then according to these symptoms, the person stealing your identity may be spending your money and buying items that can be resold, or opening a credit account, spending money, and then getting you negative credit report, taking out loans, obtaining medical care using your health insurance, filing a false tax return using your name, and stealing the refund that you should get. Every case is unique, so you're really paying attention to your own finances, looking for odd things, will give you a hint of what you need to do to remedy that. The remedy is very, very clear and very important. You file an ID theft complaint. And so filing an identity theft complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, as well as filing the police report together, that creates the identity theft report that you can then use to show that you were, that can possibly help you when you're trying to deal with creditors, to explain that was not you spending that. But having that report is the first step. And that may help you get your information corrected once you have that, and getting possible restitution for credit problems. So this is the next part of that process. The steps of repair for an identity theft would be calling each of the credit reporting bureaus, and then you can create a fraud alert and then a security freeze, freezing your credit. And then we have a right to an ability to get a free credit report. I think 3 per year. So you can go to annual credit report, and you can see all of the accounts that you have open. You can get the entire credit report, and you can use that information to try to help erase incorrect information from those credit reports. Alerting creditors. These are all of the credit cards that you deal with, bank accounts, retirement investment accounts, and any service providers like phone, cable, and internet. This is all part of the steps of repair for a identity theft situation. So those are the 3 steps kind of summarized there. I think, being really super conscious of your finances, checking your statements. If you've frozen your credit, I think you're in really great shape. A lot of times we advise that people go to optoutprescreen.com, I believe, is so you can stop getting all of those mailers to your house for those open, credit card offers, because those can be utilized to, try to create an account in your name if somebody steals your mail. So that's one potentially free thing that you can do. You can also sign up with the Direct Marketing Association to receive less mail that way. Online tips: how to protect yourself, know who you are dealing with when releasing personal information, install an antivirus software on your computer, be careful not to release too much information on social media. Thieves may use such information. Creating strong passwords and changing them on a regular basis, and shredding all important documents. I've heard that the banks sometimes will have like a shredding day to take all your financial stuff if you don't have your own shredder. But the idea about the strong passwords, I've definitely opted into using the passkey on my phone, so it needs my face in order to get into anything, and that I've heard is even more protection than like the strong password. Two-factor authentication. We have our hotlines, contacting the Attorney General's office form here. One side has all the phone numbers of the different hotlines at the Attorney General's office, and the other one has the complaint, the divisions that do take public complaints from members of the public. And on the Savvy Senior, we also have listed the elder hotline. So we do have an elder justice unit at the Attorney General's office, is very interested in keeping track of things that elders are experiencing, whether it's abuse in a caregiving situation or some other kind of financial exploitation or scams. The Attorney General has a very strong commitment to not only the youth of the Commonwealth, but of the elders. So a lot of helpful people on the other end of those phone lines. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me.